Hi, my name is Glenn Gordon. I'm a current builder for the Timber Tiger STL model. This is my third build. I've done restoration work and kit builds and other improvements and modifications to experimental aircraft. I am also an EA technical counselor and work full-time as a mechanical design engineer. So in this series of videos, I'm going to take you through the build as I'm working on it, as I'm looking at major components here in the order in which they are in the build manual, starting with the tail kit, which puts you right at work building the two horizontal stabilizers. Those are these two pieces right here. They are mirror image left to right. There are slight asymmetries on the horizontal plane, but for the most part, they are symmetric parts. So with the focus on just one of the parts, you can see an overview. The stabilizer will plug into a fuselage-mounted horizontal tube that is mounted into the fuselage, and then with reamed bolts holding it in. And there's also a forward connect point. And then out here where we have this doubler tube, there will be brackets where the stabilizer wires attach above and below down to the fuselage and then up to the vertical stabilizer to offer rigidity to the component on the airframe. So one of the first steps here in building this is to lay out all the parts. The parts, such as the ribs, they come already bent and formed. There's a series of flutes up here to establish the curvature at the front. These were received with I think around 3 flutes in each one, and I took my fluting pliers and added a few extras in there, just so that the curvature I got here was a little less segmented. So after I cover it, I'm going for a little bit smoother look, but the prototype build only featured those limited number of flutes, and so it's just the level of detail you want to go into on that. Other than that, all the flanges need to be checked that they're at 90 degrees, precisely at 90 degrees for so you don't have any lifting edges or exposed edges that might impact how this part looks after it's covered. So one of the areas of detail that can be interesting here is on the aft spar tube here, is that the tube is pinched down and then blended into the leading edge tube. And we'll get a detailed shot here, really focusing in on this corner area. So we're looking for symmetry in the constriction of the tube down to the just over the diameter of the leading edge tube, and then the metal is worked around over the edge, and there's a couple of rivets put in there. So again, just keeping in mind that covering does not cover up any sloppy work or imperfections, and so we really want to make it a real nice finish even before getting into the covering. So all these edges have fairly soft edge. They're already softened on the edges, so that when the covering goes on here, this all will end up looking smooth. All the weldments they come with the kit pre-welded, so they're just on here right now with some AN3 bolts, and these are actually put on with some AN 365 nuts, but you'll notice that the tails of these bolts are actually cut short. Now normally that's something we would not do on AN hardware. We usually want anywhere, different people say different things, but most people agree 1 to 3 threads visible would be the standard. But we don't want this protruding through the fabric. And so what's been done here is, after it's been cut short and with the back of the nut. We then take an awl and basically peen this down. This is very similar to how the original was done to secure these bolts. And what the peening does is it puts a divot point in there which flares out the end of the bolt and essentially locks it onto the nut onto the bolt, so that under the covering this is not going to be backing off. We don't want the profile of this or the bolt head of the bolt to be any larger than is necessary, as it will protrude you will see it to some degree through the fabric. One of the things I mentioned about the symmetry on this part would be the fact that I laid this out so that the bolt head will be on the upper surface, because it's slightly lower profile than the nut, which would be on the bottom. The upper surface being more visible, that is what I wanted to be more pronounced, or I should say less pronounced in this case. So that's about it for the horizontal stabilizers. Much of this construction follows the original Orion STA construction of just tubes and sheet metal with very simple riveting, pulling it all together. Splice plates have rounded edges so that everything tucks down and conforms nicely to the geometry. It also makes for a better joint here where these two are spliced. And that is it for the horizontal stabilizers on this video series. I will pick up with the next step in the instruction manual, which will be construction of the elevator. There's one more point I just remembered I should mention on here. I have not primed these yet. I'm waiting to do one more step on here, which will be the addition of some balsa wood strips along the trailing edge, which help close up the gap along the hinge line where the horizontal stabilizer attaches to the elevator. And that balsa wood gets shaped into an aerodynamic shape and reduces the gap between the control surfaces to about 1/4 inch. That is not something that was seen on an original Orion STA, and we did that in the design, was to improve the effectiveness of these control surfaces. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you when I'm working on the elevators.